I'm going to start off with a film remake that, had a mixed reaction when it was announced. And I'm going to be talking about The Crow. It's an action fantasy film directed by Rupert Sanders. And in this film, Soulmates Eric Draven and Shelly Webster are brutally murdered when the demons of her dark past catch up with them. Given the chance to save his true love by sacrificing himself, Draven returns to seek bloody revenge against the killers, traversing the worlds of the living and the dead to put the wrong things right. This film stars Bill Skarsgård, FKA Twigs, Danny Houston, Laura Byrne, Isabella Wee, and Sam Buajila. And interestingly enough, I'm not one of these guys that's going to, compare it to the original. I don't think that's a fair fight at all. So I just got to look at this film for what it does individually. And I will say, man, this thing kind of came up very short for me. I think one of the things that doesn't work for me in this is the Skarsgård, FKA Twigs chemistry. Like what they did with the Shelly and Eric story, I think is central to make this thing work. And their romance just doesn't feel realistic. There's not a lot of on-screen chemistry. It's drawn out. You know what I'm saying? So by the time this thing gets to moving and we get to see some of the parts peeling away, I was already just looking at the clock. One thing I think they did nail in this thing is the action. Things blow up and things get cut up and get shot really nice in here. There's a bit of gore. They do play into the fact that, the Crow character is pretty much physically invulnerable, even though for some reason you can still feel pain, but, you maim them, it heals back up. So I thought that stuff looked nice, but it kind of sucks because, I'm not just here for the action. I think this Crow story is a good story. Even the source material, the comic book that it came from, is a good story. So I need more than that. So you're giving me all this stuff on this high level, but you haven't convinced me to care about why they're fighting, why he's blowing stuff up, and why he's, killing people. And it was just a real disappointment for me, man. This thing runs a bit longer than the original. And it doesn't really give us much more story-wise than that film did, So I just think this was just a badly directed film. You know what I'm saying? Just poorly put together. It was filmed in Prague, for some reason, but it's also something that doesn't come up in the film. Everyone's got different accents. There's British, there's American. Like it's just a place. It's this fantasy place, I guess, And ultimately, it just didn't work for me, man. You look at the box office on this since it came out. It's going to be on video probably in the next 2 weeks, man. So if you want to, suffer through it, then
no, I don't. No, I don't want to suffer through it. I honestly didn't like the trailer for it, and overall, with all the Crow sequels after the first Crow with Brandon Lee, they slowly got worse and worse as those films were coming out. The one with Brandon Lee, I kind of hated. He died on. That's not a film that was really gonna have a sequel to it or anything. But after the first film, I just think that first film was probably the best that they could do with that story. And I like how they set up Detroit in that one. During Devil's Night, it had like a real claustrophobic type feel to it. And really with that story, I just don't see any real special effects happening in it. That's one of those films like I saw some like Michael Raven's Shadow a couple of days ago, like The Crow and like a John Constantine or a Hellblazer film, or like even a Hellboy to a certain extent, shouldn't be like a real big budgeted film, because I really just don't see like real big special effects should exist for those characters. You know what I'm saying? You can kind of it's I think they kind of overworked some of those films and over budget.
I could feel justification to go back, like the sequels don't make any sense because, like you said, it ended perfectly. So if you do want to redo it, I'd have to put this deeply into another era. Like I could see the Crow story working in something that was like maybe in the 50s aesthetic, with the music from that time, maybe kind of like a Christine kind of era. But like the way this was done, that's another thing that stood out to me. The music the lack of music and the lack of the location, you know, having a significant impact on this film, it just didn't justify its existence, man, for me, man, you know.